And I saw this blog post where you basically said there were three phases to your recovery journey. There was like the
Yes.
survive, leave, and thrive. Survive was 2016, which you have described was your lowest point.
Mm,
Why was that?
mm. So my lowest low, which I hit in March of 2016, on that day, what happened was that I had my debut at Zouk, Singapore. Singapore's like most famous nightclub. And I was supposed to go for a business trip the next morning. And leading up to that, I had already felt depressed and I was very stressed out because I wasn't able to perform at work. I wasn't able to enjoy music. So those symptoms came up again. And leading to this day, it was like, oh my God, big day because two big things were happening. So what happened was that like it all came to a point where I was just like, oh my God, this is too much. On that late afternoon of that Friday, I don't know what it was, but I just felt like I had to give up and I just couldn't go on any longer. And I found myself at the top of a building,
Yeah.
just wanting to kill myself. So
There was
someone
like
saw me.
there was like
Huh?
Everston Park, right? There were people.
Yeah, there was a film crew that was just there for some other filming project. They saw me from afar. I didn't see them. I don't know where they were. As I was up there with my like legs dangling off the ledge, right? And I was like constantly thinking like, oh my goodness, if I jump now, I'm gonna leave such a mess behind. So I just couldn't do it. I was just like, ah, damn it! If someone sees me do this, then they're gonna be traumatized. I don't want to do that. So sober, right? So yeah, the police came, and then I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna go like this. So I can't jump now. So they came. So it was like the police and the firefighters that came. So they got me off the ledge. So they asked me, so girl, did you want to kill yourself? And I was like, yeah. Are you depressed? Yeah. Okay. So now we gotta handcuff you. We gotta arrest you because that's a crime. Damn it! So I was like, oh no, I thought I would just be let off and I could go home and live my life or find a way, somehow, because it was kind of like a wake up call for me. And then I was thrown into jail for a night.
Yeah,
And
because like committing suicide was a
yeah,
crime in Singapore at the time,
it
right?
used to be. Yeah, it used to be a crime to commit suicide and to attempt suicide. So yeah, I had to be cuffed and jailed and then sent for psychiatric assessment. And I had to then be sent to the Institute of Mental Health, handcuffed to a wheelchair so I wouldn't run off. So it was all really, really embarrassing for me because I missed my gig. No one knew where I was. All my friends were there as well because it was like my debut. So I didn't turn up. I didn't turn up for my flight the next morning for work. So I let my bosses down and I only got out at I think about 10 a.m. the next day. And I saw all these messages from friends who were like, where are you, Sabrina, right? So that was all really, really embarrassing. And the shame actually really hit my self-esteem. And I then decided to stop DJing at that point for a while I figured things out. And I left my job because I just couldn't deal with that stress to perform. So that was my lowest low, and I had to pretty much hit reset.
What do you think was
Yeah.
helpful in helping you go from there to recovering?
So I would say it was my mum actually. So, despite the trauma that we've gone through in our relationship, my mum came back to Singapore and she took it upon herself to take care of me day to day and see me through the treatment process. So she actually brought me to my first psychiatrist. And then the psychiatrist also referred me to his contact, who was a therapist. And that was the first time I started medication. And my mom stuck around for about a month, and that actually helped me, a month and a half, and that helped me start my recovery journey. Since 2016, I would say that I have been on an upward trajectory overall, even though, there were some points where I was like, damn it, I missed my medication again, or there were a couple of times where I thought I was like, yeah, I think I'm all well and good, I shall stop now. And that was always a bad idea. So I did that, I think, twice. And then I would say I really only stabilized from around 2018, 2019.
And that's when you started holding a regular job. You were DJing again, weren't you?
Yes, I went back to DJing, I think around 2017 actually. So my hiatus from DJing didn't last very long. I'm so grateful that I had a contact who, for some reason, still called me back. It wasn't Zouk, it was a different club. But yeah, I'm really thankful that they did because, it's still something I enjoy. But I knew then that I could not rely on DJing as my livelihood anymore. It's not sustainable to my current lifestyle. I always made it a point to DJ only the early sets so that I could make sure my sleep was okay.
Wasn't this around the time when you released an article called How I Went from Leaving to Living?
Yeah,
Like,
actually
what was-
leaving life to living again. That's what I meant. So that was October of 2019. I remember because it was World Mental Health Day before it was popular. Sorry, now it's been very popular the past 2 years. I wonder
trend.
why. Yeah, it's trending, eh? But hey, mental health has been a thing since you've had physical health and since humans were humans. Yeah, and I bet like animals have mental health too. So in 2019, August of 2019, I actually started going for life coaching. So I had gone for therapy consistently still, but there was something in me where I was like, okay, well, therapy has gotten me this far and I'm still committed to it. But I want to start planning for my life now. I think I'm ready to look at my future because between 2016 to 2019, it was all about, all right, let's just go day by day, manage this condition, try to survive, and then just enjoy it for a bit. And then, yeah, I think around 2019, things were stabilizing for me work-wise. I had been confirmed at my then job. And yeah, I think it was time to want something more out of my life. So through my coaching process, I found a lot of clarity around what I wanted to do with my life in general. And what I realized was that I wanted to find a way to help other people with their mental well-being, not just with like the bad side of mental health, right? But to find a way to just overall live happier and healthier lives. I also realized that one of the things that I could do that's within my control and within my ability was to write about my experience. And that was also a way for me to reflect on what I've gone through over the past few years.
Was the writing difficult? I mean, you share your story now, and I'm just in awe that you can share it so openly. But was that the first time you were sharing?
I mean, the people around me, like close to me, knew about it in bits and pieces. But that was the first time I shared about it openly. And it was actually surprisingly easy to write about it. So what happened was that I wrote the article over, I think it was either 3 or 4 mornings. So before work, I would wake up a bit earlier and I would start writing from say 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. or was it 7 to 8:30 over 3 days or 4 days. I did some editing as well. So yeah, it just all kind of happened in the span of 1 week. And I knew that World Mental Health Day was coming up. So I kind of like gave myself that deadline. I said, okay, there's World Mental Health Day. This means a lot to me. And my birthday was the day after that. So it was also a gift to myself. So World Mental Health Day is like the 10th, birthday is on the 11th. I posted it on the 9th just so that I could like be done with it. So yeah, so that was kind of like the timeline I was working with, and it was a very straightforward process for me because I think I had it all inside of me already.
What was the response like? Did it surprise you?
So when I published it, I kind of like went into hiding. I turned off all my notifications and I actually went off for a dinner, a social gathering thing of like 20 people. Big deal. So I went for this gathering. The next day, I started getting responses. So I posted it on my Facebook only, if I'm not wrong. And I got a lot of messages from my friends who said, Sabrina, I just read this. I had no idea. And then there were also people who said, oh, this sounds like something that I've gone through. And I didn't know that you've also gone through it. I didn't know other people went through this. It really resonates with me. The other thing that came up was also people telling me that they've been struggling and that my article had helped them a lot in processing what they're going through and figuring out a pathway to help themselves. So yeah, I didn't really know what impact it was gonna, make, but I honestly just did it for myself. I needed to kind of make peace with the past few years and the struggle that I went through. It was very liberating to put out there.
Did it start you on this journey of thinking, oh, this really reached out to lots of different people. Maybe I should share more and find more people who are interested, who want to find out more?
No. Okay, so I recently learned this term called vulnerability hangover. So I was a bit hungover after that. I was like, oh my God, exposed. I feel a bit exposed and I need to like chill. So following that post, I mean, I responded to people and to friends. So I did that. I did do a follow-up with individuals. From a bigger picture perspective, I thought that I would write another 2 articles about So that's why I meant to write a 3-part article. I've only done 1 out of 3, and it still stands at that 1 out of 3 since that day. It's been 2.5 years. I have not done anything else, but I've done other stuff. Yes, I got distracted by like Calm Collective, right? So what happened? No, I kind of just went back to focusing on my own life. But that said, I still went for life coaching, and I knew that at some point I wanted to find a way to get creative and help people again. I wanted to bring back that 15-year-old version of Sabrina, because I think that was really, I guess, me at 15 years old doing that concert was the start of discovering who I really was. It was me authentically putting myself out there, and I wanted to bring that part of me back. So that was always the intention, eventually, to create something that would help other people. But I didn't know what that was going to be.
And then the pandemic hit.
Yeah, so then the pandemic hit. And then I was just like, damn it, I'm at home and I'm stuck and I cannot travel. And we have a month of lockdown. After a week in the lockdown, I realized that mental health services were considered non-essential, and I couldn't see my therapist in person. I couldn't see my psychiatrist in person, but he still kept his office open anyway. But my therapist was like, oh no, we haven't figured out this Zoom thing, right? And I was like, okay. I was quite upset because mental health didn't seem to be an important thing when the lockdown was happening. Back then, when I was in my job, I was already organizing webinars for our regional clients. So then I thought, okay, why don't we do a webinar series for people who are in the lockdown, just like me? So I called up 2 friends and I was like, okay, guys, let's do something about this. One of them was Alyssa and the other guy was Lukman. And Alyssa and Lukman immediately said, yes, we have more time and we agree that the cause is important. Separately, we've also talked about mental health, and they all know my journey as well. So yeah, it just happened to be a very opportune time to start something, and it was on the side of our jobs as well. It was because we also had a lot more time. There was not much socializing to do or anywhere to go, really. For us, it was just like, okay, we just wanted to teach people strategies to cope in the lockdown. That was it. So there's still this like running joke today where I was like, so guys, I conned you into doing this for a bit longer beyond the lockdown, huh? But the initial idea was really to just do a one-off summit where we would bring together a bunch of folks who could talk about coping with relationships in the lockdown. I called my former therapist. We also talked about mindfulness. We talked about journaling. We also talked about welcoming the change that the pandemic brings. So I called on my coach to do that. And for the first summit, we had about 300 people join us. It was just like a Saturday afternoon because everyone's stuck at home, nowhere to go. So Saturday afternoon, 2 to 5:30 p.m., sitting at home, hosting all these talks and interacting with people online. So that was the first version of Calm Collective. And then we just discovered that we really enjoyed it and organized more and more and more talks. Also, the lockdown got extended. So we were like, damn it. So I guess we have more time to do this.
And it's called Calm Collective Asia, and there is a significance behind the word Asia, right? What is it?
Well, okay, it's very simple. So first of all, Alyssa is not Singaporean. She's Filipino. So she was like, Seb, I'm not Singaporean, so this cannot be Calm Collective Singapore. And Asia is also important because there's a lot of cultural nuances that are similar across the region. Like this whole tiger parenting thing, filial piety is also a big theme here. So yeah, we from day one just decided to call ourselves Calm Collective Asia. Obviously, the so-called superficial reason was because of Alyssa's reasoning, but we also mutually agreed that we had to look at Asia from a bigger perspective because, I mean, like a lot of our friends are also not like Singaporean. They're various folks who have grown up in an Asian environment with Asian parents. We looked at it from a regional perspective from the start.
What was the response like when you reached out to people asking them to speak at your events? Because you've had so many people. You've had like people from LinkedIn, supporters, musicians. You even had
politicians as well.
Politicians, yeah. And Dr. Kendick, who was like global head of employee wellness.
Candice, yes, she's great.
Your CalmCon. So what was the response like reaching out to them and asking them to speak?
I don't recall having heard a no or an outright no yet. Maybe due to like a scheduling conflict, maybe. People are just very nice. But I mean, for the lockdown, it was pretty straightforward. I think from a young age, I've just learned to have a thick skin when I need to ask for something or when I want to get something. Because if you don't ask, you don't get. That was my thinking since I organized that concert back in the day. So the way I went about it was that I just called up various folks and kind of put together the program, figured out what would fit and what would resonate with the audience. It was really straightforward, and typically it always starts with why. So I would share, this is my why for doing this. And then yeah, once they understood the why and also my story, usually, yeah, they would typically say yes.
What are you seeing Come Collective Asia as doing now? I guess you have a vision now.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had, yeah, I know, right? It's just like, it's been a constant re-evaluation of our vision and reason for being since we started. Because we really meant to just have this as a, like, just to do this as a side project. But today, Calm Collective Asia is still working on the same mission, which is to normalize mental health conversations in Asia. And the way that we do this is really by educating and empowering the community. So we're focused on knowledge workers, but we're also starting to bring our public programs to corporate communities. And what we do right now is we've expanded the things or the ecosystem of what we're doing. While we started out with creating these talks and also some content on social media, so we do these like amazing illustrated posts that actually Alyssa draws. And I would say we're heavily focused on creating relevant content and very accessible and relatable content to create programs to help continue and foster these conversations. So we still organize our talks. We have Calm circles now, which are our peer sharing circles, where our community actually comes together and joins the conversations. And we also have CalmCon, which is our mental health and well-being festival. Everything is online. The reason why we do everything online is to really make sure that it's accessible. And someone who's in a depressed state, like the last thing they want to do is to actually step out of the house. We've made it a priority to keep it accessible and keep it online, simply because we know that the folks we want to reach out to may not necessarily have the ability to get out of their homes. And the other thing that we do is around content, which is still all the tips that we post out on social media, as well as our blog. We have articles. We have a great team of volunteers that constantly write about very interesting stuff around mental health and well-being. And the other thing that we're doing that is now being developed is that we've been bringing all these public programs into the corporate space, right? So we're actually partnering corporates to normalize mental health conversations at work and also empowering their people to provide support for each other. So in a way, we're kind of like productizing Calm Collective and bringing Calm Collective into the workplace, but obviously not called Calm Collective. It's like just powered by us. So yeah, that's the current version of what Calm Collective is, and it's always changing.
And so you're obviously helping people to be more aware and more sensitive. I suppose for people who are listening, are there any general advice you have for people to be supportive of those who might be going through mental health issues or challenges?
I think the most important thing when it comes to supporting someone who's faced with a mental health challenge, or if you're supporting someone or if you're a caregiver, is that you have to try your best to, I guess, practice compassion by simply holding space for them, listening, and withholding judgment as well. It's really important to listen to them with an open mind, with curiosity, and also care. Oftentimes, it's just simply lending a listening ear or asking good questions to get them to share more about themselves. And the more you ask, the more you find out, the more you discover from them what kind of help they really need from you. The mistake that a lot of people make, and once in a while I'm also guilty of this, is that we tend to listen to someone's problems and jump in with a solution. But that solution might work for you, but not for them. So it's really important to hear from the person what they need. And sometimes they actually don't need anything at all. They just need you to listen. So I think that's the number one thing I would share.
And what kind of signs would you look out for? Any symptoms? I mean, it sounds like when you were telling your story that you also didn't realize what you were going through and it took a while for you to put it all together.
Okay, so I think it looks different for everyone. The rule of thumb would be if your thoughts and feelings, your experience is affecting your day-to-day ability to function, that's definitely a point or a time where you need to start seeking help, or at least a professional opinion.
And I heard from
Yeah.
Jolene Hui, who is a psychologist, that she also said that Asians tend to give physiological symptoms, right? Like insomnia, stomach ache.
Yes. So yeah, that's actually a really good point. So actually, Jolene was my first therapist ever. Similarly, I had the same experience where when I was growing up, I would get a lot of stomach aches. A good friend of mine, she would constantly have migraines. So oftentimes stress can come up physiologically, and oftentimes we tend to try to fix it on a more superficial level, like we just solve the symptom but not the root cause. So if these kind of things are happening, if you're constantly getting heart palpitations, you can't sleep, if you don't have any appetite, if you've lost your appetite, or if you're eating way too much, like more than usual, that's when it's time to seek an opinion, and hopefully a professional one.
How do you
Yeah.
find the right therapist? I mean, there's so many, right? And you have to shop around. What do you look out
Yeah.
for?
I always tell people that looking for a therapist is a lot like dating. So you got to find the right fit. And sometimes you have to go on several dates before you find the right one. So it takes a lot of patience, but I would say that typically it's important to first look at the credentials. So it filters people out, and then you just simply have to meet them and see whether they're the right fit, because every person has a different personality, different vibe, and you just want to know whether you actually like the person and can respect them. Because if you don't, then why see them?
I heard you also share about the cookie jar exercise. What's that?
Yeah, so that was something that my boyfriend shared with me. I shouldn't say current because hopefully it's okay. I hope he doesn't listen, but it's fine. He actually sat me down one day when I was going through a mild depressive episode. This was at the start of 2020, maybe something like that. He told me, Sabrina, let's take a look at. Okay, so let me introduce you to the cookie jar exercise. And I want you to list all the things to be grateful for and all the things that you're proud of. And I'm going to give you 20 minutes to do this. And I was like, 20 minutes? That's a long time, right? So I sat there and I like listed out everything that I was either proud of or grateful for. I would list things like, I DJed at this place. Wow, I would never have thought I would do that. I organized a concert when I was 15. I made my friend happy because I talked to her on the phone today. So big and small things. Or like, I ate chocolate cake and was really yummy. So yeah, I ended up coming up with like a list of maybe 30 things, big and small. And looking at that, having written that out tangibly, I realized that it was super helpful in feeling good about myself. And I was like, oh, hey, life is not that bad. I'm not that bad. And there are things to enjoy in life. So that's a cookie jar exercise. So basically, the question is, if you have a cookie jar right now, what are all the cookies that you would put into that jar? And the cookies are things that you are proud of or you are grateful for. So just doing that once in a while when you're feeling down helps a lot. But now I also have a simplified version, which is I'll just ask myself, what are you grateful for? And then I just list 3 things every day.
And do you feel like having gone on this entire journey that you have found your why?
You know what? I constantly ask myself why, and I think my why changes all the time. But at the heart of it, I would say yes, I have realized what my why is. And this was what I found out through coaching. And I discovered that broadly speaking, my why is to help people live more aligned with their true selves. I actually just rephrased that. See, it changes all the time. So yeah, I'm constantly kind of like evaluating it as well. And why is like my favorite question. So yeah, my why changes every day.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
I mean, I don't really care about my legacy to the extent that like it doesn't have to be like, hey, Sabrina was here. But what I do hope to change in this world is I hope that I would be able to contribute to humankind in my own way by helping them embrace a growth mindset so that they would be able to constantly grow and learn and also appreciate themselves for who they are, and also to find that self-actualization that I think a lot of people are working towards.
And what do you think are the most important qualities of a successful person?
To have a growth mindset, because life is always changing and it's very important to embrace changes and to be able to rethink things whether it's your beliefs, whether it's the way you do things. I think given the way life is going in general and how things are constantly changing, as humans, we need to be able to adapt and to accept that changes happen all the time and that we need to adapt to it as well.
And where can people go to find out more about what you're doing, Calm Collective Asia, how to get involved? Where can they go?
So for Calm Collective Asia, they can go to www.calmcollective.asia. That is our website. And they may follow us on Instagram at Calm Collective Asia, and on LinkedIn, just type in Calm Collective Asia. You can also follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, I'm also there. I also have my website, but just go. There are many ways to find us. So go look for us and let's get connected.
And I will put all those links in the show notes so they can easily find it as well. What is the best way for people listening who want to support you? What is the kind of help you want most?
So the best way to help Calm Collective is to share our resources, share about our Calm Circles, CalmCon. If you find that your workplace needs some improvement in the mental health department, you can also link us up with your leaders and your HR folks. We will be happy to work with you guys.
And that was the end of episode 71. The show notes can be found at sothismywhy.com/71. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do give it a rating and review at the platform that you're listening to. And do remember to share, because every share does help this podcast to grow. And stay tuned for next Sunday, because we'll be meeting an incredible Australian startup founder and current head of growth at one of the fastest growing London-based startups, which is aiming to be the Canva of video editing. It is an absolutely fantastic episode, and if you haven't already, do subscribe to this podcast and see you next Sunday.